morning, people of the grid. It's bright and early on Monday. I'm going to get a coffee and I'm driving the Tesla Model Y today, and I'll do it a little later when it gets a little more light outside. I'm going to give you a quick tour of the Model Y and give you my initial impressions and thoughts on it. I was testing out the Tesla Autopilot version 2, which is the newer one than I have in the Tesla Model S, and newer even than the one Tammy has in the X. It works pretty good. It's yeah, it's really good. I'll give you more info a little later on. Let's get our day underway, and then we'll catch up probably around lunchtime. I couldn't wait. I'm actually just making my way back home to the office, and I'm using Autopilot a lot, and oh my gosh, this is well, let's start by saying that self-driving version 2 is so much better than version 1 that we have in our Teslas. It's such a nice treat. Simple stuff like signaling a lane change. When I signal a lane change, let's put it into Autopilot. When I signal a lane change, it very aggressively moves over when it's safe to do so. And so you can actually use it when you're coming up to a merge to signal out. And it just executes the lane changes flawlessly. Wow. Very impressive. By far the best self-driving vehicle I've ever been in. Now, I haven't been in a lot of self-driving vehicles other than the Mercedes, the Ford, which has lane keeping, which is kind of a ping pong off the lanes. The Mercedes is the same thing. This is truly what you would expect from a self-driving car. Now, it's not perfect yet. It's not full self-service. It's not full self-driving yet, but man, it's got the sparks of something amazing. There's the little stuff like the signal indicator. When you signal to indicate you're turning left or right, it doesn't lock into place. It just, you signal it and you let go, and it flashes the signal until the lane change is affected, and then it just stops. Like, that is a nice subtle little touch that I just love. The animations on the screen and the screen itself, beautiful, very responsive, very fast, and yeah, it's just well thought out. The American Fig is under settings, where you just go in and change the settings, then you can save them to the profile that you've stored in the car. Yeah, I drove the Model 3 a long time ago with my buddy James. We actually went from Victoria all the way down to, I think it was San Diego, to return it. It was a Turo rental that James had with the EV Group out in Victoria. And so I got to do a lot of long distance driving and got to know and love the layout and the look of the Model 3, which the Model Y has the exact same layout and look inside. Screen in the center, steering wheel here, same controls and layouts. And I just love the minimalist look of this car. It's so clean. It's like no other car you've been in. Tesla in general is like no other car you've ever been in, and this one is no exception. People of the grid, it's Tuesday, and this is the day that this Tesla, which is a Model Y, goes back to Tesla. It's a loaner that we've had while Tammy's Model X has been in getting some repairs done, some service work done, some things replaced. We'll cover that in another video. What I want to cover today is our experience of having this Tesla Model Y for about a week and a half. And we've been using it for daily driving. We've gotten the kids from A to B. We've gotten our errands done. And we got a really good impression of what it would be like to own a Model Y. And what it would be like to own a Y would be just as awesome as it would be to own any of the other Teslas. As you know, we drive a Model S and we drive a Model X. We've had the Model S since 2015 in March, and we got the Model X in 2016. I think we picked it up in July. And so we've had them ever since. We love those two Teslas. The Model Y, and for that matter, the Model 3, I kind of think of them, they all have a place. So if you look at the Model S and what it looks like in the Model 3 is a very comparable version to the Model S, but with the stylings that you see in the Y and the 3, with the single console screen in the middle, that nice, clean, minimalist dash. Pretty much everything else between the Model 3 and the Model Y is very similar, other than the Model Y sits higher, so it's more kind of like an SUV style, which seems to be very popular. Judging by the amount of Model Ys that I've been seeing on the Calgary streets here, it's unbelievable. I mean, every day I think I see about 3 or 4 Model Ys. They're super, super popular. I see a lot of Teslas too in Calgary, but boy, Model Ys, I think they've hit the sweet spot. First thing, it's a Tesla. I mean, it drives like a Tesla. It accelerates like a Tesla. Unfortunately, this one is a loaner, so we've got it locked in chill mode, so I can't punch it. But it's got pick up and go anyways. It has the full self-driving, which is really, really nice. I'll get to that in a little bit. But it has some nice touches that are clearly a step up over the Model S and the Model X, because these are a bit newer, and I'm sure some of these features will be coming back to those cars, kind of retrofitted onto them. But some of my favorite things in this car you can't find right now on the Model S or the Model X. Here's one of them. So this, it's got a tape on it, but this is the key. So when you walk up to the car, you have this in your pocket. It unlocks the doors for you so you can actually get in. And then to start it, you just have to tap it to the center console right here to get the car going. Pretty simple. Now, because it's a loaner, this is all we get. So we have to pull this out of our pocket, tap it to the console to get the car started. That's a bit of a pain in the butt. I don't think I'd like to do that every time. But what they do have is the ability to put this key into your cell phone, so it acts as an application that unlocks the car via proximity, just like you can pay, for stuff at the Circle K with your phone just by tap the NFC. You can also unlock your Tesla, and then you put your phone there and the car will start because you have your phone with you. That, I think, is pretty cool because it's something I always have, and unlike the Model S and the Model X, that's one less key that we would have to carry, which I'm all for minimalism. That I thought was really cool, and many cars have this now, so it's not surprising that we'd see it in a Tesla, but they actually have Qi charging built in right here. You just rest your phone on that pad and it just starts charging, inductively charging. It's awesome. So that's a pretty sweet thing. Now, it charges Tammy's phone. She's got a phone case on hers. It doesn't charge mine because my phone case is too thin. So I thought I would run a cable because they have USB-C ports that are just underneath that. If you still want to use the wired method, you can run a USB-C port, or you have to, in my case, take the phone out of its case, place it there. And the beauty of it is the way it's placed and charging, you can actually use it for nav, or you can use it to see things without touching the phone. So you get a hands-free experience with your phone in the car. It's much safer and it works really, really nicely. The thing that I think is just really super cool is the way you exit the vehicle. It has a single touch. You just touch a button and the door releases and is open. Just a single touch. It's really cool. Touch, it unlocks the door. So it's very simple. It's a simple mechanism, and the same is true on the outside. When you press the door handle, you push your thumb into the big spot on the door handle kicks out, you grab it, and you pull. Just the action of pushing your thumb in, though, does that. It releases the door. So it's a really simple design, really clean design. Down. The best design for releasing the door, I believe, is on the Model X, because it's just the flat door handle and you just touch it. It just has a micro switch inside, you touch it and it releases the door. That, I think, is the best one. Now the Model X actually pushes the door a little ajar so you can grab it and open it, but that's one of my favorite methods. Just requires an extra little motor to push the door out. This in the Model S in the Model Y and the Model 3, I would say is the second best door handle. Plus it looks cool. I like that it's flush against the body. And then the last, I guess the third option is the one I have in my Model S, which is the handle that actually comes out, the self-presenting handles. Cool factor is out of this world, but that's I think now it's probably a $750, $800 single unit. So if that thing was to fail in a big way, that's a big hit. I've had mine fail a couple of times, but it's just been a little stepper motor, which is, you know, $30 to replace on both, on both doors. So that's not bad, but it will happen where you have to replace the whole thing, and that'll be a costly item to replace. But hey, console in the model, I think, and I suspect it's the same in the 3 as it is in the Y, but look at this. This is a Yeti mug. This mug will fit in my Model S cup holder, and it'll fit in the Model Y cup holder, but in the Model Y cup holder, you can actually come in because the gap here is far enough apart. We hold 2 large coffee mugs, Yetis or whatever you use. So that's a nice touch. I don't know if somebody asked for that, but certainly a nice touch. Love the center console. I love the setup. It's got the huge storage that Tammy has in her Model X, which is, I don't have it in the Model S. I just have that gap in the middle, which I've really liked. And I still think it's pretty cool and minimalist, but having this, I think, is just a little bit better. And it seats 5. So for us and our family, the reason we got the Model S to begin with and then the Model X was we need a vehicle that could carry all 6 of us, Tammy, myself, and our 4 kids. The thing with the Y and the 3 now is that Ethan is 18. He's driving himself everywhere. Very rarely do we all go out as a single unit. We do when we go to church, and then the odd time if we'll go out for a meal. But usually we'll meet at a place because everybody's in different areas, then we'll just meet and then we'll end up at home. So could we do with a 5-seater vehicle now? I guess we could. And we've actually taken this one snowboarding. See if you can see back there. I folded down. It's a 60-40 split, so you can actually fold down the 40 and still have 2 people sit in the back. We loaded up 5. Was it 5? No, it was 4, because Ethan couldn't come that day. He was prepping for a university test. So 4 of us went snowboarding. We loaded the snowboards in the back here, all inside because we don't have roof racks. And yeah, but it got us to the hill and it got us back home, no problem. So this vehicle can carry 4 with gear, snowboarding gear, quite comfortably. So that was pretty cool. Other than that, it's got a similar amount of storage space to what we're used to in the Model S and the Model X. And that's a good thing. It's got the compartment in the front, which is the frunk. In the back, it's got a well in the bottom, so lots and lots of room for storage and gear. Oh, look at that. That panel roof is pretty sweet. Reminds me of the Model X. The front windshield is a little bit bigger. I don't know, maybe the angle's different. It feels like it's a bit bigger than what I've got in the Model X. It's definitely not as big as the Model X, but it's close, and it's quite nice to look out of. Like, visibility in this thing is awesome. It's just nothing but window all around, and window in the sky too, which is pretty sweet. Right, and that brings us to the console in the center, which is completely different than what I've got in the Model S. It's completely different than what we have in the X, because there we have the screen in front of the driver, and then we have that massive 17-inch portrait version of a screen in the S and X, which I really like. Don't get me wrong, but this thing, I don't know, I'm just drawn to it. I like that everything is in one place instead of having 2 screens to look at. It works. All the same functionality is available in both. There's a couple of nuances to this one. It's faster, it's way faster than what we've got in the first gen screens, or maybe we're second gen, but this one is a much snappier CPU and it's noticeably faster. And a lot of people are thinking, well, with your speed over here instead of in front of you, is that going to be a problem? It's not. It's really not. I mean, you get used to it in a couple of minutes. When I drove a Model 3 from Victoria down to San Diego with my friend James Locke, we took turns driving it down, and I mean, you got used to that screen layout very, very quickly. You find all your necessary items very quickly. It's easy to get to everything, just as easy as it is in the Model S or the Model X. It's just a little different. And then I guess the biggest difference, noticeable difference between the previous generation Model S and X and the current generation Model 3 and Y is this self-driving or full self-driving capability. The version in this car I love, hands down. I think it's the same version in the new Teslas, which is phenomenal because it'll stop at red lights, it'll stop at stop signs, it'll stop at uncontrolled intersections. I've never tried that. It basically stops if it doesn't know what to do. So I think it would stop at an uncontrolled. It's awesome. I mean, even still in the Model S that we have in the Model X, that first generation of Autopilot, I love it. The ability to drive without having a hand on a wheel, it's the best thing ever. And this just takes it up to the next level. Not COVID. Not COVID. This takes it up to the next level where it'll stop at stoplights too. So it's just that much safer, that much more capable. And its lane changing capability is when you signal for a lane change, it spots its spot and it takes it. It's executed perfectly. Our joke now is we're trying to teach our kids how to drive, Samantha and Amelia, and we're trying to teach them to drive better than Autopilot. Right now, Autopilot is better than they are, but this Autopilot is very capable. And it detects that, I mean, there's two cars ahead of us, and it still sees the red light. So that camera, it's looking pretty much as far as you look when you're driving, and it just waits for the light to turn green, and then it'll go, just like, you know, in version 1. But this one will actually stop if you're the car at the front, unlike version 1. So that about sums it up. I guess the last question that I would have is, you know, would I buy one? Absolutely, if I had lottery money. And which one would I get, the Model 3 or the Model Y? Now that's the tough part. See, I think there's a distinctive difference between the S and the 3 and the Y and the X, or the X and the Y. And the difference is the X and the Y sit higher. So if you have trouble bending your knees or your hips, you're going to be much more comfortable in a Y or an X than you will in the other two. But if you're a ninja like I am, then you can get into anything. So, yeah. Oh, and of course, that backup camera. That backup camera is pretty sweet. You get the two side cameras as well as the main backup camera, and it works just beautifully. Now, the other thing, I talked a little bit earlier about the door handles. So check this out. It's basically like the old school cars. I don't know if you remember far enough back, the handle used to stick out. You could just stick your hand in, and that's what, you know, you pulled the door with. It didn't unlatch until you pressed a separate button that was usually beside that door handle. So you put your hand in, push the button, and pull. And that's how majority of the cars way back door handles work. The handles on the Model Y and the Model 3 remind me of that because they're set up in such a way that you got to push with your thumb, and then you grab the handle and pull the whole thing open. It's a cool design. It's modern, but it's a modern take on what was originally set up as the door handles. It's classic.
Back to me.
I do know you get your car back today. You excited?
Yes. I did like this one though, but
so I was kind of telling everybody what I thought of the experience of having this car for a week and a half, and for me it was actually, I loved it. I love pretty much everything about it.
I let him drive it a couple times.
You know, if I try and look at what don't I like about this car, there really isn't anything. There's nothing I don't like about it. It's all upside. What about you?
That's awesome. For me, a few things, because I'm used to the X. I like the fact that I can push the brake and the door shut. I miss that, so that's because I'm spoiled. I'm not as big a fan on the door handles.
The visors have little lights and magnet latches.
Yes, they do.
You don't like the door handles?
Okay, I'm not a big fan of the door handles, just they're not as easy as click. Or, for me, I just walk up to my car and the door opens. Again, I'm very spoiled.
That's a nice thing.
So, that's one thing. The screen I'm still getting used to because everything's so little. Like, they tried to fit lots of stuff on it, but then trying to find how much battery range you have left or temperature and stuff, it's really little.
It's right there. You just press the battery.
It's just, again, habit for me. There was one other thing. Overall, I really liked it. It feels small, a lot smaller than my car. So
yeah,
the kids all wouldn't fit in here.
I think the stance of the car is a little less than the S and the X, but that's okay. See, we're closer here.
I like the center console. It can hold two bigger cups.
I love it. Yeah, I already covered that.
That's awesome. It's fun. The games are awesome. I told Scott
phone Tammy, it can have roof racks. $450,
Yeah.
you get the roof racks added either on the Model 3 or the Y US.
You said something about towing, but it would just be for bikes,
Yeah,
right? It wouldn't
it's
be
for
towing.
it's just a bike carrier. You're not going to tow anything really with this, and that's okay. All right, well, you better.
I do like it. Amelia got in the one day when I picked her up from school and said, "This is my car."
She loved it.
She loves it.
Well, you better get this back to Tesla before they charge us for it. We'll catch up with you guys later where we tell you what we had done in the X.
I think they should give us the car.
Yeah. Yeah.
Cost us a little bit.
All right. Biker,
Tammy.
out.